Hey, Dr. Jen here with Personality 201. As I said in my previous video, the 10 personality disorders fall into 3 different clusters. So cluster A personality disorders capture people who are odd or eccentric. Cluster B captures people who are dramatic or erratic, and cluster C captures people who are anxious and inhibited. So let's look at each of those 3 in turn. So cluster A includes 3 personalities: paranoid, schizoid, and schizotypal. Paranoid is just like how it sounds. It describes people who are often cold and distant. They're overly suspicious of their surroundings and other people, and so they may have difficulty forming close relationships as a function of that. Schizoid describes people who fear intimacy and closeness. They often become absorbed in their own thinking, and they'll detach from people and from reality. Schizotypal describes people who fear intimacy and closeness as well, but they also have disordered thinking, perceptual issues, and problems with communicating. So this personality is similar in many ways to schizophrenia, but less intense in a lot of ways. Cluster B includes 4 personalities: borderline, antisocial, narcissistic, and histrionic. So borderline describes people who are unstable in their perceptions of self and others, which, as you can imagine, creates significant problems in interpersonal relationships. They tend to process things in very black and white, absolutist type terms, and then they react in big ways due to a strong tendency to personalize everything. Antisocial describes people who disregard the feelings of others and focus on their own personal gain. Their behavior is often characterized by aggression or even violence, and they don't really have a sense of regret for the often criminal things that they do. So this is not to be confused with asocial, which means someone who avoids social interaction. Narcissistic people have an inflated sense of self-worth and this feeling of superiority over others. They're sensitive to criticism, judgment, they don't do well with defeat, and they often exploit and manipulate other people, particularly those who don't see just how great they are. Histrionic describes people who are constantly seeking attention in some form or another. Some do this by drawing attention to their appearance, what they're wearing, how they look. Others are very dramatic, and their emotions may seem superficial or exaggerated. Cluster C includes 3 personalities: dependent, avoidant, and obsessive-compulsive. So dependent people rely on others to meet their needs and validate them, and often have a hard time taking care of themselves. They struggle with low self-esteem and feelings of insecurity beneath it all, and they have a hard time then making decisions on their own. Avoidant people are very sensitive to rejection, so they tend to avoid situations where they fear there may be some sort of conflict, which really could arise in almost any situation. So they're similar to schizoid, except that they don't prefer to be socially isolated and withdrawn. They'd actually rather be able to form close relationships with other people, but they live in fear. And then obsessive-compulsive people are hyper-focused on routine and order, which makes them averse to change. They don't do well with it. They tend to be anxious, they have trouble completing tasks, making decisions, and it's all linked to perfectionism. So they struggle in relationships because they're so intent on controlling things. Now, this is different from obsessive-compulsive disorder, or OCD, which is an anxiety disorder that's characterized by either obsessive thinking and or compulsive or repetitive behavior. So those are the 10 and the 3 clusters. And I want to emphasize that personality disorders are not character flaws. They are simply information processing disorders, and they are treatable. In fact, they're my specialty. So we'll talk more about that next time. So give me a follow and stay tuned.